Good morning, everyone. We'd like to start the meeting. Janice, do you like to do roll call?
President Davidson.
Here.
Vice President Ricketts.
Present.
Secretary Kincaid. Present. Treasurer Hahn.
Present.
Director Argot. Director Hector. Absent. Director Lynch. Director Sauvé. Director Setzer.
Right?
You have a quorum.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, great, thank you.
you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order, and please rise for pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you mute your phone, ma'am? Therefore, I'll look for a motion to approve the May 7th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
So I make a motion.
It's already made. You want to second it, Ryan? Ryan, do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
We want to perhaps.
Barb, could you use the mic?
Mike?
Just a grammatical punctuation error in the draft minutes, changing it so it doesn't appear like everybody was absent by breaking up the one absent member, Ryan Setzer, from the rest of the group into a separate comment.
So would you suggest that prior to Ann Ryan Setzer absent, that it lists the word present after the names of all the directors with the meeting?
Correct.
Ann Ryan Setzer present?
Correct. Ryan Setzer absent.
Do you have that change, Mabel?
I can email it to you.
Can I ask you to amend your motion then, Janice, to approve the minutes as amended? Liz?
So move, motion, Lindsay caught me off guard there. But I do approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. Ryan, are you willing to second the amended motion?
I will. I seconded my amended motion.
Okay. With the amendment, any objection? Hearing none, I will consider the motion as, the minutes as amended, approved. For I will turn to Rudy to do his Ginger impersonation and give the Festa report.
Thank you, Jack, and good morning, everyone. I was asked to wear a kilt today and shave my legs, and I refused. So. Good morning again. So the Land Trust Management Report for May on the rec facilities operations. In the clubhouses, we had a total of 32,000 visits, and that's broken down. 47% of that was in the South Club, 34% in the main clubhouse, and 16% in the 2020 building. On the fitness and spa area, total gym usage was 7,700. 71% of that was in the 2020 center and 29% in the South Club. Other fitness activities, including the water class attendance, over 1,000 in May. The land group class attendance, 1,200. And fitness videos, we continue to post those on YouTube, and for the total of 7,900. I think that's a year-to-date total. In the spa and salon usage for May, Total number of clients served, 394. And sales generated from services and merchandise totaled almost 15,000. In the South Club food and beverage operation, the curbside and the dine-in activities shows 5,600 customers for the month of May, producing sales of $86,000. Someone asked me what the most popular items are, and I don't want to mention those at this time. With respect to the remaining fiscal year 2021 and 22 projects, these are projects that were carried over from, that required a little bit more time to get completed. On the surveillance camera project for both the North Clubhouse and the South Clubhouse, that project is near completion. We're also doing camera installations at the main gate and the back gate. There will be a total of 24 cameras installed altogether when the project is completed. In the Veterans Theater, as you know, we are installing the sound system. That project is scheduled to begin on June 15th, and it should take approximately 10 days to complete. One of your favorite subjects, I understand, is the moisture intrusion testing project that's been taking place in all of the clubhouses, Main, South, and the 2020 building. That evaluation has been completed. We've had 5 engineering firms doing site visits, and they've all have declined to participate in the bid process. We've also contacted USF School of Engineering to solicit their feedback and interest in the project. That's a fluid situation. We'll continue to monitor that. With respect to this year's fiscal year 2021-22 projects, the main clubhouse indoor pool deck resurfacing has been completed, and the pool is now open for resident use. The South Club roof replacement project is underway. All of the demolition and damage wood replacement has been completed. I understand a double underlayment system has been installed, along with upgrading the flashing. Concrete barrel tiles, as some may see, has already been loaded onto the roof, and they will begin that installation sometime next week. The South Club pool deck expansion project, the architect and the kitchen consultant have met, and they've completed their first draft of the proposed building. A survey has also been completed on the site. With respect to the catering kitchen floor replacement project, we anticipate, once it's been approved, to start on Monday, June 7th, with an estimated completion date by June 18th. The Jubilee Wall partition replacement project is also underway, with an estimated lead time of between 6 to 8 weeks. And we have working through the purchase of a replacement 25-ton HVAC unit in the South Club, and that is pending delivery dates from the manufacturers. On the special event front, our team is working on several entertainment, dining programs in the Veterans Theater. Please check the pointer in your emails for upcoming schedules and ticket information. We've started the movie season. I understand over 350 residents attended the first show on May 26th. There's a second movie that's planned for June 7th, The War with Grandpa. I believe that stars Robert De Niro and Uma. Can't remember her last name. The winter series is also in the planning stages, and we're hoping to have the schedule finalized and the brochures out sometime in July. The special events team is also working on event dates and caterers for the upcoming monthly dinners and the Queen Luncheons. Those are very popular events. Again, check the pointer for more information. Bus trips are back, and I understand they're selling extremely well. Kings Point not only offers bus trips from Glory Tours, but there's a second vendor, the Sun City Center Travel Club, that operates out of the Kings Point main clubhouse lobby out here every Tuesday from 1 to 3 p.m. and also on Thursday from 10 to 12 p.m. On the transportation side, the tram services had 485 residents using the trams, and they covered over 2,400 miles. On gate security operations, for May, total phone calls over 9,300. The highest call volume was on May 8, 403 calls, an average call per day of 302. They've issued over 13,000 passes, and the security patrol, the overnight crew, covered over 2,000 miles in the month of May. There were 40 incident reports, and the golf cart gate usage accounted for over 5,800 visits. On the notables, item 1, a resident contacted the front desk regarding smoke in the mulch area on the west indoor pool entrance at the main clubhouse. The unit was dispatched with a fire extinguisher to monitor the area. The mulch kept smoldering, so a non-emergency fire rescue group arrived and extinguished the smoldering mulch. The fire personnel thought that the incident was caused by a discarded cigarette. Item 2. Gate security informed us that the golf cart arm was stuck in a tree on the exit side. Upon further investigation, the video showed a piggyback incident which caused the arm to be pushed too far forward, but somehow it remained attached. After a few more exits by residents, the arm eventually got stuck in the tree branches. As a friendly reminder, please do not piggyback through the golf cart gates. Item 3. Security has received calls from residents reporting that folks are feeding the alligators. Caution, please be careful. Not only is feeding the alligators dangerous, it's also against the law. And finally, as the recreational facilities return to full operations, there are a number of expected and unexpected challenges. Our business environment continues to change rapidly, and the managers are working diligently to address these issues. First and foremost, the skilled labor shortages. From an HR perspective, this is a fluid situation, and we're adjusting and exploring new approaches to the challenging job market. Candidates are demanding more wages to return to work. Last month, we saw the first signs of some positive hiring activity, and I think leveraging some technology solutions in the hiring process, such as the Vesta Career site, Indeed, Craigslist, and social media channels, is making a big difference. We've also increased our employee referral incentive to attract candidates for positions in food service, spa and salon, housekeeping, security, and maintenance. The good news is, thanks to our retention strategies, our managers and associate teams are keeping the programs and services running smoothly and without interruptions. The second item is our supply chain relationships. We're seeing a significant uptick in the rising costs of construction labor, replacement parts, transportation, and commodities costs. Supplies, inventories, and the cost of goods are impacted by labor shortages and wage increases from both domestic and overseas markets. From time to time, some of these preferred products and brands at the cafe, bar, and the salon and spa will be out of stock or in limited supply. However, despite these challenges, we're working with our business partners on product availability and keeping costs down. Our focus is on delivering an exceptional resident experience without compromising your enjoyment of the amenities, programs, and services. Thank you.
Any questions? Keith? Good morning. This is the First Service Residential Report for the Board of Directors. Just a quick note again that each Board of Directors sitting up here is an owner of their parcel that they reside in and are paid up on their dues. We do check that each month just, just to be sure. A couple quick updates for the board. Our office, again, is opened under the new COVID guidelines, so there are no masks required inside of our office. In the front lobby, we do have our shields up, and just ask everybody to continue their efforts to stay safe and to use their best judgments when coming to the office in large numbers. We still have restrictions on our back office. First Service Residential has their internal policy still in place for masks for their employees inside the office, so we are still following the corporate guidelines on that. A couple quick notes to the board on the administration activities for the month of May. We had 53 sales transfers, 41 leases. We did 4,327 phone calls during the month. We did 721 pest control appointments. We had just over 1,200 walk-ins to the front office. We did 52 new homeowner orientations. Did 91 alteration forms, 73 unit owner violations, processed 172 invoices through Avid, and drew up 22 new contracts for the associations. Under insurance, again, the insurance has gone out on Connect for all the associations. They're loaded up under their insurance documents section. We've sent out the risk assessment form to all the associations, and Adam and Brian with USI have tag teamed several meetings with various associations. I've attended a couple of them. They were done very well. There was a nice Zoom call done, and a couple in-person ones that I've attended that may only had 4 or 5 unit owners, up to 22, but good information is getting out there about the policies, about getting HO6 policies and what's covered. So again, if any board here would like that to happen, either now, later in the summer, in the fall, just let myself know, or to contact Adam. We'll schedule that up to have them come out and do a presentation or just answer questions for your association. Pest control has had a rapid increase. It seems like end of April, May, we had a large jump, and it's like the season for pest control in the summertime. So right now we are just at the tail end of the 3 days. So we're working hard to get extra technicians added. There was a period where we were past the 3-day mark, but we've been working with bug guys to get that corrected. Trash collection, just briefly, because it's in the very early stages. The Hillsborough County Commissioner Board met yesterday, and there was a slight change in the contracts with the zoning in Hillsborough County for residential contracts. So they did approve a new vendor for Zone 3, which means Waste Connection at the time being will not be the service provider in the near future, in early 2022. So we're going to work with contacting all 3 vendors in the area in Hillsborough County to work on possible contracts with the dumpsters. So it's all very, very early right now, but we're forecasting some changes coming in early 2022. But again, that board of county commissioners didn't meet yesterday at a long all-day board meeting, but in that board meeting they did decide to approve new contracts. Another quick note, hurricane season, it's upon us. You had some communications go out recently just about checklists, getting prepared, talking to your owners. Obviously a very important time of the year to be prepared. Those that have been down here long enough to kind of know the drill, but sometimes new folks don't. So anybody you can talk to, reach out to, even if you're walking, just it's important to know what's going on. We're going to continue to send out preparedness updates, checklists, just the disaster plans and what happens before, during, and after the storm. I know Liz is going to be speaking a little bit more about this in her committee report, so I'll let her delve into that a little bit deeper. But we are going to be sending out continued communication amongst the leadership teams to try to get out as many eyes and ears as we can to warn them about the hurricane season and getting ready for it. OLM with landscaping completed their month-end inspections last week of May. The next inspections are June 28th, 29th, and 30th, with a grading meeting on June 30th at 2 p.m. Palm and oak tree trimming. As of today, Browns will be completing section 3, palms and oaks, the middle to end of next week, and then they'll be moving on to section 4 to knock out those palms and oak trees, and then back over to 1 and 2 on just their palms. We are projected to finish up on the main cycle by the end of June, and then we'll go into the monthly maintenance cycle for palms, for basically palm trees, but any oak trees, if you have issues, we can get to those, but we'll be going into that in July. We'll set the date and let everybody know that there will be a week each month in the next 9 months to have a maintenance program on the palm trees. So you'll notice we're trying to take less and less off the palm trees, trying to encourage the health of the trees, and this maintenance program ties into that each month. So mulch, the mulch contract has been reviewed and finalized by the attorney. It's back in the hands of the landscape committee and the contracts committee, so they'll have their final review of that, and we'll look to send that over to the board for approval and then out to the membership shortly. Work orders for landscaping in the month of May were 32, with average days of completion of 3.09 days. And that's all I really had. I guess last note, we did send out a bunch of information about community websites, getting residents to sign up on that. We've had a very nice response to that. So anything you continue to do to inform your guests or inform your owners to jump on the website, just call your CAM. They'll run them through how to get on that website. And there's a lot of good information on there for your association minutes, rules and regulations and such. And that's all I have.
Questions from the board?
Good.
I have a,
Oh. She's got one too.
no, go ahead.
My question was on the spectrum. It says you're going to be sending out from First Service how to update our systems. Do we have any timeline on that?
I should be able to get that out next week. It's going to
Okay.
be hopefully a simplified version of that.
Okay. Thank you.
In regard to the trash collection with Waste Connections no longer effective, I believe it's February 1st or 2nd, no longer handling the District 3, which is the South Hillsborough County. I noticed in the paper this morning that they plan on raising the taxes for collection. However, I believe the new company that took over, that their bid is like $50 million less than the Waste Connection bid, yet the county plans on raising trash collection rates by considerable dollars, although they selected a company that is basically giving them a contract which is $50 million less. And I realize that it is very lucrative for them to do the commercial accounts, which basically covers the front of the Kings Point community with their dumpsters. Did the county give any indication, because I know you attended their meeting yesterday via Zoom, did they give any indication of how they are going to transition from Waste Connection and the use of their dumpsters to the new company that goes by the letters of FCC? They have 3,600 commercial contracts that basically is the pickup of all the dumpsters. We have over 80 dumpsters in this community, of how they plan on transitioning those dumpsters to the new company, whether the new company is going to buy those dumpsters or is going to supply its own, which will cause the residents to possibly go for a short time without dumpsters and how are they plan on handling that? Did they give any indication, or are they opening that up to any discussions from the residential communities where commercial contracts are provided?
They did not get into any of the details. Again, they had an appeals from Waste Connection yesterday to redo the bid process. That was denied, and then they moved into the next agenda item, which was to award all 3 zones their contracts. So my understanding is that the FCC, which is the new provider for Zone 3 that will replace Waste Connections, was $30 to $40 million under the Waste Connections bid. They stated that their procurement team did their due diligence on the route recommendations, the speed of pickup, and things like that. They did not talk about the logistical plans of transitioning between the 2 companies. It would be my understanding that there would be new dumpsters, new trucks from FCC, the new provider. I gather that they do work in 4 or 5 other counties in the state of Florida. So I think they have some, logistical and operations team already here. We'll be reaching out to them and trying to get preliminary discussions on transition and contracts and things like that, because we'll have to work on a contract for the commercial dumpsters for the community. The residential won't be affected with can change outs, just the possible days of the week shifting. So there's a whole bunch of moving parts to this, so we're just on the early stages, but we'll continue to get information from the county, from the new providers, and see what we can push out and get to the board.
We'll go to committee reports. Liz, do you have anything you want to do on health and safety and emergency service?
I think Keith kind of set me up, so.
He set you up, I didn't.
Oh, this time you did, okay. But that's okay.
Over the years, I've spent a lot of time at this microphone. As Keith reported, am I doing that?
No.
Okay. One more time. As Keith reported, the hardwood and palm pruning is moving along and keeping tabs on it. The tree committee will not meet again until the end of the month. Things like vacations have come into play. So we have moved the meeting to the end of the month. The emergency planning for the Good and Welfare Committee has really been working hard. There are actually 3 pieces to all of the emergency planning. The Federation Good and Welfare Committee is what we call the core committee, and we work on things to get things moving. And then you've heard me speak about the Kings Point leadership team that includes all of the leadership members in Kings Point, the COA, Vesta, the First Service, and the Master, and myself as representative from the Federation Board. The third piece is CERT, and that is the community operation, and I think most everybody knows and has heard about CERT. And their major effort is to make sure the entire community is prepared if we should have any kind of disastrous storm, be it a hurricane, tornado, or whatever else Mother Nature decides to bestow upon us. All 3 teams are very interested in the 3 components, before, during, and after. The Federation Core Committee has met with the insurance company, with our agent, and with Heritage, our property policy provider, to work on the before, during, and after, and what their responsibilities will be in utilizing our insurance. The other thing that we're working on with Heritage is to develop an after restoration program, and that's well underway. We'll be meeting again on the 14th of June to see how far along we are with that plan. So everybody's been really working hard. The leadership team is working on what each and every entity has to do, what their role is in the before, during, and after. And you know, the master's responsibility is the infrastructure, and First Services' responsibility is you and me as our property managers. So those roles are being defined, and how they will interconnect and mesh will be part of a plan that will be presented to each and every one of you. As Keith said, we've had our first e-blast, and those communications will continue. And if you notice, they are the same as what we did during the pandemic, so that as many people can be reached as possible. The message will be the same, so we don't get any misinterpretation. That was a decision that was made by the leadership team. July 13th, we have planned for a symposium in Kings Point. That is not finalized, but that's our goal date. I think some of you remember symposiums in the past put on by the emergency squad and all of the entities in Sun City Center. And we definitely, in that piece, well, in Kings Point, the 13th is for Kings Point, either morning or afternoon, and that's not been determined. And the major piece there will be the unique needs of Kings Point, and each of the players from the leadership team will be making some presentation, and Mike Bardell is very good at making sure everybody is succinct and brief, and he has threatened to bring his cane if we go on too long. So, but anyway, we will have those pieces there. And we will also have the insurance company there. And one of the things we've asked them to be sure to present relates to the HO6, HO3 insurance policies that all residents should have, and your loss gap for your insurance as well, so that there is something that goes between your HO6 and the outside of your building with the master policy. Just remember, folks, before is critical for each and every one of you. The more you prepare now, the better off you'll be. You can always drink that water throughout the rest of the year, but if you don't have it, you don't get it. I guess that's all I have for today.
I just have one question for you. Having lived a mile and a half away from a Category 5 tornado, which basically wiped out power in the county I was living in for over 3.5 months, are you recommending to the residents of Kings Point and the community as a whole to make sure they have some spare cash in their homes? Because once power goes out, ATMs don't work, gas stations don't work, ATMs don't work, and credit card machines don't work. And when you are out to attempt to purchase anything, they don't accept anything but cash at those period of times until they can get some power restored. And I was just wondering if you included that within your plans.
We will, and it's an excellent excellent idea to make sure you have cash on hand. And I would strongly suggest that it not be in $100 or $50 bills. And small change and ones and fives will probably serve you better. And there's one other thing that I found out the other day in one of our meetings, is that each and every one of us has a hot water heater. When the power goes out, the hot water doesn't stay hot. And you have 30 gallons of water there if you need something, if you need water for some other things, and it's potable water. So there are lots of those tidbits of information that will be included in the symposium. So we are all working very diligently to get it together, and we hope you will all join us. We've also said to the participants, Chotskis are fun. We like a new pen here, a pad there. So they promised that they would do that as well. So that's, any other questions from the board? No? Thank you.
No, Liz, and I would just like to thank you for pulling all of the community leadership together to make sure that it is a community-wide effort and we don't have one segment doing their thing and another segment doing another. So I appreciate your leadership and dedication to making that work. So thank you very much.
Well, and I appreciate those comments, and it's critical that we all know what each other is doing so we can maintain our energies in what is our individual responsibility. Thank you.
Janice, do you have anything to report on insurance? I know that USI is meeting with a number of associations to cover their HO6, is that correct? Yes. And answering the questions that residents may have. Tom, anything? And I'm going to only ask you to move to the podium. And if you want to know why we're speaking, there is a phone for call-ins, and it's easier to hear on the phone at the podium than it is from city.
I really don't have any updates at the current time.
Do you want to tell us anything about the mulch contract? You do have something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I guess I do have something. We've been working on the mulch contract as a group between the contract committee, landscape committee, and through First Services to make sure that it's a contract that they'll be able to enforce. We've run several iterations of it, continually had new information, new ideas that came up on what to look for, and to try to develop the best contract that we can for the community. We have a contract now that we have finally put together. It actually came together last night, I believe, or early this morning. The board has copies of the contract right now. We will, as a board, review this contract to make sure that we have the information and the teeth in it, I guess I'll say, to benefit the community as far as how we're going to install the mulch. Once we get through the process with the board approving it, it'll be submitted to the community to be voted on.
The only question that I would have for you is, Keith touched on it very lightly, is the renewal of the contracts for landscaping for all 4 divisions. When do you plan on starting that process, so in case we need to go out for RFPs, we will have sufficient time to do so we aren't rushing around at the last minute?
Well, I know Dave McGraw, I believe Dave McGraw in the contract, and the landscape committee have looked at the existing contracts to rework those at the current time. So we're in the process of consolidating the information from all of the contracts, because currently there's different language in each of the 4 contracts. We've tightened some of that up with the last contract that we did with Down to Earth for, I can't remember if it's section 2 or 4. But anyway, tried to commonize some of that language. The big thing that we're looking at right now as far as the contract committee goes is making sure that the language for all 4 contracts is going to be the same. So that way there's no question as far as what that language states from contract to contract, just to commonize things.
Barbara, do you have anything? Alan, do you have a treasurer's report? Okay. Then I will do my president's report. Just so the membership knows is that hopefully during the month of June, we will be calling a special board meeting to approve the mulch contract. Thank God for not turning it off. A special membership meeting to approve the mulch contract, which will therefore need to be required. And also on today's agenda is a approval for the Federation budget year-end results to be audited. In order for it to be audited and the Federation to hire an auditor, it requires a majority vote by all the residents. It is my understanding in talking to Liz that it has been years since the Federation budget year-end financials have been audited. So this will be a new process for your Federation board, but we think after a number of years that we should at least audit the year-end report. More will be said about that when we get to the new items on the agenda. In regard to an issue that came up at the May membership meeting, a individual attempted to add an item to the agenda and basically was told that that individual could not add an item to the membership agenda. According to the bylaws of the Federation, any member, or which basically is an association that wants to add an agenda to the membership meeting, has to present that amendment and a petition signed by them to the board 10 days before the board meeting, at which time the board at the board meeting will make a determination of whether that agenda item would be added. If the board rejects that agenda item, and Janice, keep me correct, if the board in its determination rejects that request, an appeal can be filed. However, the appeal must be signed by 12 presidents of the associations to have that agenda item. You cannot just make a motion to add an agenda item at a meeting. There is a specific process at a membership meeting for an agenda item to be added. Am I correct, Janice? And the individual who attempted was informed of that process and sent a copy of that process by you, the secretary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to cover that. During COVID, the Federation Board, on behalf of the residents of Kings Point, sent a letter to Sheriff Chronister, who is the sheriff in Hillsborough County, commending the services of Officer Mary, who is our resource officer from the Sheriff's Department within the community, who assists First Service and the Land Trust and the community for a lot of things. I did notice this morning that Officer Mary is in the bleachers attending the meeting. I know he is not one to accept a lot of accolades. And of Officer Murray, there's a number of people who don't know you in this community. If you would just stand up so you could be recognized, and I would like to thank you for all the work you do for the community. And that concludes my President's report. I will open it up for open forum. No one has signed up for open forum. Is there anyone who wants to speak regarding any of the agenda items? It is an item on the agenda, correct?
It's about pest control. Is that? Well, I'm just asking, is this the time I would ask a question about pest control?
As seeing it basically is covered under Keith's report, I have no objection to you asking the question. Could you identify yourself?
Yeah, my
and
name is
association?
Lucy Malakos. I'm from Edinburgh. There's a rumor going around, and I have asked a few people, reached out, but there is a rumor going around that you are only allowed to have the pest control come to your home and come inside your home 2 times a year. Now, I'm just here to ask the question so we can just stop the rumor. If it's true, I need to know. If it's not true, I need to let my
To the
residents
best of my knowledge, there is no limitation within the contract, and Keith, you can either confirm nor deny my assertion.
No, there's no limitations of the amount of times. So
Thank
two
you.
is incorrect.
I was pretty sure, I just needed to ask. Thank you.
You always feel free to call me or ask me at any time if you have a question come up.
Treasurer Vanderverdee, when was the floor replaced in the kitchen here? I thought that was done fairly recently.
It was, and there is a mistake on the agenda, and it would be covered when that presentation is made by the RFEC. It should have read South Club, not North Club.
Okay.
I'm Kurt Wasco, Oakley Green, and my question has related to insurance, which your committee report was done today. I want to thank USI for joining on our Zoom. We had a very good Zoom, and I appreciate all that. I also appreciate that the policies have been listed on Connect, and I would recommend every president read them. I discovered Oakley Green was not named on one of the policies, and also how it was misrepresented on another. So there are 2 riders going to be issued to correct the insurance. So apparently nobody checked everything. So please check the policies, see that your association is actually listed as an insured. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Then we'll move to new business. And first I'm looking for Roger. Where are you, Roger? Oh, you're way back there. Roger Johnson from the RFEC is going to make a presentation to the board regarding the South Club catering kitchen floor.
Good morning, Federation members. This was approved originally last year, and the floor replacement in the South Club kitchen. I'm not going to read all of this, thankfully. During the COVID pandemic, the cost of materials rose considerably. The original amount that was requested and approved was $6,561. Since that time, the cost has risen over $3,000 for the same project. There were 3 bids requested from Majestic Flooring, Empire Flooring, Finest Touch Contracting. The middle bid from Empire Flooring came to $9,597.23, and that is the one that is being recommended. So in essence, for this to start, I believe next week, we would like for the Federation to approve an additional $3,038.30. for the South Club kitchen,
And you are speaking of the Federation Board,
the
correct?
board itself.
Board, you all have a copy of this in your agenda file. I would make a motion that we approve the expenditures of an additional $3,038.30. And as in keeping with previous approvals we made, that we add a 10% contingency to it for any unforeseen repairs. Could I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Can we ask questions first?
Yes.
I never realized that it was a clay quarry tile in a kitchen. Is that an appropriate flooring?
All tiles, probably 99.9% of all tiles are clay.
But I mean, can't you put in like a linoleum,
Linoleum
nobody
will not,
sees
the linoleum, this has a graphite surface on top of it. The linoleum will not hold up under the heavy traffic that you have in that kitchen down there. There's no way. It will not stand up.
So
You'll be
there's-
replacing that probably every couple of years.
So there's nothing else a little cheaper that could be
You would
used?
not, if you want to not have to do this so often, you'll want this product in there. It's just a lot safer in there.
Okay.
And the epoxy grout, it doesn't have to be sealed. It won't get dirty, dingy, nasty like typically grout does in kitchen environments like this.
Rudy, do you want to make any comment on it? It's under your purview.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate the recommendation. So there's also a health department concern, and it's a commercial kitchen, so there's different requirement in terms of code, so it meets that certain standard. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments or discussion?
Yeah, I have one. With your proposed decision of going with Empire Flooring, and actually between all three of these, do you know of any...
It wasn't Empire, it was Majestic, which is
okay, I'm sorry.
It's a local supplier, I believe.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know if Rudy could answer this, or maybe you, because you've been on the RFPC for quite some time. Do we have any experience here with any of these vendors?
Rudy will have to answer that. I'm probably going to say this is going to be a first time for any of them, just from my experience.
Let me answer your question for you. In the recommendation by the RFC, they are recommending the vendor Majestic Flooring to complete the project, as they were also the vendor. We utilized and did a phenomenal job on replacing the cafe kitchen flooring last year with these same materials. So yes, we used Majestic previously.
Jack's memory is better than mine.
Pardon? I thought I'd help you out a little, Roger.
Appreciate that, Jack. I owe you now.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Then I will call the question to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then Rudy, would you notify Victoria and Ginger that we have approved an additional $3,038.30, including a 10% contingency for the replacement of that floor in the South Club catering kitchen. And I appreciate it, and Roger, thank you for your work.
Thank you very much.
Would you pass along to Victoria, Rudy, our appreciation for getting multiple quotes on this? The quotes we got ranged from $9,597.23 to $10,300. Majestic is just a couple dollars higher than the lowest quote. It is not the lowest quote. So I appreciate that the work that Victoria did in doing this and passed that along. The only other question I have is to see that this money comes out of the cash reserves, the additional $3,000. And with that, I will move to the approval of the Federation Board financial audit and approval of an auditor, and I will turn the meeting over to Alan.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, I would move that the board approve the proposal from Page & Company to perform the audit of the Federation of Kings Point financial statements for the year ending March 31st, 2021 for a cost of $3,000.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, let me just add, of course, the cost, as always, it's a cost assuming that they don't encounter any unexpected circumstances to the audit. That's typical for all of the audit proposals. But we also did get a proposal from Walters and Associates. Walters is the company that we recommended, the Federation recommended, the trust hired to audit the trust financials. Walters was going to do our audit of the Federation for $3,500 to $4,000 cost is what they estimated. Page & Company is also the company who's familiar with First Service financial system because they do provide the audit for the associations. If you requested either a review of your financial statements or an audit, Page & Company is the one who does that.
So they do it for all 113 associations within the community and possibly the 114th?
Yes, if requested, the association has to request it to be done.
Okay. So every association should be familiar with Page if they've ever had their financial books audited.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, just because we are approving this is our recommendation. The hiring of Page & Company to do the audit does require a majority of all associations. It's not majority of those attending the meeting, but it's a majority of all associations. So when we call a special membership meeting, it will, as required under state statute, also include proxies. And we will require, Maubel probably knows this, 5,725 or 50 votes for a majority. Something in approximately that. And it's basically up to the associations and their members whether they want this audit performed or not. We are suggesting it to be done in order to resolve any issues, questions that have arisen over the past few years regarding the appropriateness of the expenditures and whether the dollars that are budgeted are spent appropriately. And having a company come in and doing an audit would be very helpful to this community. To my knowledge, I don't know when the last time an audit was done. And the question was from Dell was how often is this done? This board would like to see it done on a regular basis, not necessarily yearly, but maybe every 2 or 3 years. I think it would be a good idea to have it done for the community. We audit the land trust on a regular basis. The associations have the option to audit their financials on a yearly basis. And it is something this board thought would be appropriate to have the Federation budget totally audited for last year's, which ended in March of this year. With that, we will turn to good and welfare. Are there any good and welfare? Yes, Rick.
I've been made aware by people who had their landline on this Bright House. They assumed that Spectrum, with the new contract, would have upgraded people, and they have not done that. And I've told these people, you have to call Spectrum, tell them that you're under the Kings Point bulk contract, and if you don't do that, you don't get reimbursed retroactively. Whatever point you started, okay, you don't get reimbursed any of that. So this should have been done automatically by Spectrum. Also, there was an issue, and I spoke to Rudy and Ken about this. Several years ago, the alarm was redone in the pool at the North Clubhouse. Yesterday afternoon, the red light was on for the ladies' sauna. The alarm does not ring. I saw this, I spoke to the security guard, he went in, and Ken said that he's having this taken care of. There's a potential for someone being seriously injured in either the men's or the women's sauna. Okay. I happen to be on the opposite side of the pool. There's a new security guard. I told him how to turn the light off. No one, he either didn't remember it, but there's a box to the right of the shower. You open that, and that turns the light off. But this is a potential for serious liability because that alarm doesn't work.
Rudy, would you address that and get back to Dan on what you have done to address the training and the issue out at that pool? Thank you. You're not that short.
Well, I don't want to get too close to the microphone. Rick Massime, President of Gloucester B. I'm going to make points about some organizations. Please, it's not condemning them or ridiculing them. It's only to show a void that I think maybe we can improve upon. All of you, I'm sure, at times or other, you have seen dogs roaming through your neighborhoods. And most of the time, most people don't do anything. And they'll show up on next door. But we had a dog in our neighborhood, and one about my residents, they're dog lovers, they're animal lovers. So they stopped, got the dog, and they called security what they should do with the dog. Security said, call your president. So they called me, and I said, all right, well, I'm going to turn this around and make some phone calls. So I called security. I called Vesta. Vesta has no procedure for stray dogs. I called First Service. First Service has no procedure for stray dogs. I called the Sheriff's Department, and they have no particular procedures, except they all notified, they all made the same recommendation. I called the Dog Lovers Club. Nobody had a procedure, but they all had the same recommendation. Call these various county animal associations. Well, we call them. One said if it's not vicious, we don't bother with it. The other one said we can't pick it up for 3 days. And the other recommendation was take it down and have it scanned to see if it's got a disc or whatever they put in their dogs. Well, and they say, well, take them to Ruskin and take them to Falkenberg Road. Some of these residents that pick up these dogs don't drive. They're elderly. They've given the dog water. How do they expect these people to jump in the car and take somebody down to Falkenberg? What I think we ought to do, and I looked it up on the internet, it was very simple. A scanner is a very simple item. And I bring that up because this particular couple, they postponed their trip that day and took the dog to care. When you see this dog, you would say, that dog is not going to have a chip on him. Well, the dog had a chip.
Yes, sir.
But they were able to get this rather every said dog into their vehicle, taken care of, found out where it belonged. There was an association right across the street from us. They took it to that association as a person. Like I said, I looked up on the internet, a scan is a minimal cost for the amount of our annual budget. And I'm sure it could be very easy, we can pick up a scan, leave it at the front gate, and have them at least scan it without a lot of imposition on security or Vesta to see if maybe right then and there we might solve the problem. So, I just recommend that if we can at least do that and maybe look further into some kind of protocol when a stray dog is picked up. Thank you.
Rick, thank you for that. And I think that would be a good project for the Dog Lovers Club to pick up in arranging for a scanner and notifying their members and the community. And if there's anybody here from the Dog Lovers Club, I think it's something which you should raise within your club, which would be very helpful to be able to do from the Dog Lovers Club. The Dog Lovers Club does a great service to this community in providing a park and have spent a considerable amount of money for that park and having water run into that park with the assistance of the master. And it might be something good to speak to the Dog Lovers Club on.
I spoke to the Dog Lovers Club. They meet on Saturday mornings, and I attend every Saturday morning. I intend to meet with them tomorrow and bring this up. But I don't think it's their responsibility to buy that particular scanner. I think that should be out of our budget, not the Dog Lovers Club.
We'll be more than glad to look at it, Rick. I did get a text from an individual. The question is why in Kings Point can we not use trash retainers such as the majority of Kings Point has within their home? What it would entail is in the older communities where the dumpster are used is each resident to have trash containers in their home, which would be a recyclable and a regular one, even with the small ones. Then they would have to take and wheel those out to the road because they don't really have a location to place these type of trash containers for each unit within those. So it'd be rather difficult to have individual trash containers for each resident within those particular, and I believe there's about 36, is there not, Keith, associations that have those? Pardon? Yeah. 69 associations, and the question is where are they going to place them? They don't have garages. They would have to sit outside, and when they want to have someone drive through and pick it up, the question is where would they place them to get picked up at? That's one of the reasons they use dumpsters. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.